Traveling the world as a writer, you learn what's important. You learn to make time for good food. Turkey is one country where I can eat as much as I like and never gain weight. We're at the famous Istanbul fish restaurant, Balıkçı Sabahattin, where I've been coming for many, many years. This is my mecca when I come to this town. They have the most exquisite selection of fresh fish. I would say the best fresh fish in Europe are found in Turkey and Spain. Talk about eating local produce. This whole country produces the most magnificent fruits and vegetables, and everything you get here is fresh out of the fields. And it is highly nutritious because things aren't shipped from far away. In fact, one of the reasons that the EU doesn't want to let Turkey into the European Union is because they're so scared of Turkey's farmers, who are very productive and they produce very high quality fruits and vegetables with lower pesticide use, and they know this would be very serious competition. Food, you see, isn't just sustenance, nor is it politics. It is economics, it is culture. Every Turkish meal begins with assorted delicious appetizers called meze, which I think are the best part of the meal.
Ottoman Turkish cuisine is quickly becoming a brand, and so quickly that it's now recognized finally again as one of the world's greatest cuisines.
A cuisine is not static, but rather it is quite dynamic. As an empire expands or contracts, the influence of food remains. The essence of grand Turkish cuisine is absolute freshness, nothing artificial, slow cooking with great care and attention, usually lots of vegetables and fish, little meat. Turks make yogurt sing.
So this is the first published the cookbook in the Ottoman history, and this book that the first time is published by the chief medical department of the Ottoman. So as you can see, there's no pictures and nothing here. And almost that you can see that the notes on the side of the book, because these are the side dishes for the main dishes that are here. So 1844, this is the main source of our food culture in the history.
I came across the very interesting point that the reason that Turkish sailors never went to China like all the Europeans went to China, because they didn't have to, because the Chinese delivered. All their Chinese food, the Chinese spices came by caravan across Central Asia.
But the Silk Road, or the Spice Road, we should say, has been controlled by the Ottomans and the Arabs and so on. And it was quite expensive. Most expensive thing was black pepper. So black pepper now that we're using as a flavoring agent, but those years it was a kind of antiseptic ingredients to save up the food for a couple of more days. And up to the industrial revolution happened in European countries, black pepper, cinnamon, ginger, all those stuff was very crucially important to save the food actually.
Turkish cuisine is so interesting because it combines elements of Central Asian, Balkan, Caucasian, and Arab cuisine. I was raised on Albanian food, a charming, light, and tasty combination of Turkish and Italian food. What could be better for your palate or for your waistline? Behind me is a wonderful triumphant statue of Mustafa Kemal Atatürk, President of Turkey, the founder of modern Turkey. A remarkable man, what the Latins would have called a stupor mundi, a man who shook the world. Through sheer force of will, Atatürk crafted a modern, Western-leaning society that reestablished Turkey as a regional leader. He sought to build a nation that moved from the past to the future in one giant step. His ideals were revolutionary, and his vision was bold and audacious. Out of that, today, emerged two different Turkeys. There was the urban Turkey of Istanbul, for example, where westernized Turks, that would include the army, the academia, the courts. And then there was the majority of Turks who were mainly rural in those days. They believed in the traditions of the old traditions of Turkey. The secular Kemalist Turks held political power here from the 1920s up until 1992. and they held it through the army. What happened was that as the population grew here, more and more of these rural Turks who are traditionalists moved into the cities. And with all these rural and middle-class Turks came a profound change in political power. So Turkey has transformed itself. It's gone through a remarkable revolution in the last 10 or 15 years. It's been a huge revolution, but it's been happening so slowly that we haven't seen it in the West. Turkey's dramatic renaissance is largely due to its domineering armed forces having been pushed out of politics after 90 years. Under the Justice and Development Party of Prime Minister Erdogan, real democracy has taken root in Turkey, and the economy has boomed.
The image that Turkey has in the West does not really reflect the realities on the ground. Turkey's become now much more advanced, much more dynamic, much more affluent as a society compared to the image that many Westerners hold of Turkey. But that image is slowly but gradually changing.
And forget the anti-Turkish propaganda movie Midnight Express. Turkey has changed dramatically over the last 20 years. The West is going to have to understand what this means to the geopolitics of the region. Turkey has found its voice again and is looking at the lessons of history. In fact, Turkey is being held up as a political and economic role model for the entire Muslim world.
Turkish foreign policy has shifted and has undergone a transformation, whereas in previous years the NATO relationship and having good relations with the US, trying to become an EU member was really the fundamental driver of Turkish foreign policy. Now the fundamental vision is to transform Turkey into a strong regional player.
So not only is Turkey more self-confident and Turks are more self-confident and want to reassert themselves as a cultural and soft power in the region, but the region and the world, I think, is welcoming such a role for Turkey and is ready for such a role. And I think that this is what especially the world should be looking at Turkey with a new sense of importance and a new sense of direction and inspiration.
I don't know if the corridors of power in Washington or Brussels truly grasp Turkey's vision for the future, but that doesn't really matter. Turkey is going to be what Turkey wants to be, regardless. And I believe Turkey will be a positive addition to the world stage. Turkey will continue to be more assertive, and I expect they'll continue to enjoy this new renaissance. Walking the streets of Istanbul, I have no doubt that Turks feel the same way. Turkey's in a roll, Turkey's hot, business investment is pouring in this country, Turkish exports are going all over the place. So Turkey has regained this influence, and in my mind, this is one of the most exciting cases of a country exploding into a second youth after so many years of somnolence and of decline and of being unimportant. Today, Turkey is very important.